This is the story of a girl named Emily, who grew up in a household filled with control, neglect, and emotional distance. Her mother was strict and overbearing, always micromanaging every aspect of Emily's life. But as Emily grew older, she realized that her mom wasn't just naturally strict. She was a woman hardened by years of suffering at the hands of her abusive husband, Emily's father. He was emotionally absent, cold, and at times downright cruel. As a result, Emily's mom projected her pain onto her, controlling her, criticizing her, and making her feel like nothing she did was ever good enough. Despite everything, Emily still longed for love and validation from her mother. But growing up in such an environment left her questioning herself, her memories, and even her reality. And then, one summer afternoon in the mid-2000s, something happened that made her question everything she thought she knew about her mom. It was a regular summer day during Emily's pre-teen years. The house was quiet, and she had been taking a deep nap, the kind of sleep that makes you forget what time it is, or even what year it is. She was suddenly woken up by her younger brother, who tugged at her arm, signaling that it was time for his milk. Still groggy, Emily lay in bed for a few minutes before finally getting up, remembering that her mom had gone to visit her grandmother, who had just undergone surgery. But before leaving, her mom had already prepared her younger brother's food, meaning all Emily had to do was warm it up and feed him. She slowly made her way to the kitchen, expecting to find the pre-prepared meal waiting for her. But as she entered, she froze. Her mom was already there. Emily immediately felt guilty. Had her mom come home early because she had overslept? Had she neglected her responsibility again? But as she stood there, still half asleep, something felt wrong. Her mom wasn't acting like herself. She was moving quickly, too quickly, as if she was in a rush, pouring all the baby formula into a single bottle in a way that made no sense. Emily knew the food had already been prepared before her mom left, so why was she making it again? Her confusion grew as she observed her mom's face. Something was different. The more she stared, the more unfamiliar her mother looked. It wasn't just her expression. Something about her face itself seemed off. Maybe it was the shape of her jaw, or the placement of her eyes, or the way she was staring back at Emily, unblinking. Emily's heart began to pound in her chest. "When did you come back? Why didn't you wake me up?" she asked, hesitantly. Her mom didn't answer. Instead, she continued stirring the bottle aggressively, splashing milk everywhere, her body unnaturally still, except for her hands. The longer Emily looked, the more her fear grew. This wasn't just her mom being angry. This was something else entirely. Every instinct in her body screamed at her to leave. Without thinking, she turned and ran into the living room, grabbed her younger brother, and bolted out the front door. Their house had a large front yard where another family was renting a portion of the property. Emily ran straight to the neighbor, a kind woman who was used to seeing her and her brother around. Out of breath and trembling, she asked if they could stay there for a while. The woman, sensing something was wrong, didn't hesitate to let them in. From there, Emily used the neighbor's landline to call her mom, her hands shaking as she dialed. "When are you coming back?" she asked. Her mom's response made her blood run cold. "I'll be home in 2 hours," she said casually, completely unaware of what had just happened. 2 hours later, when her mom finally returned, she was furious. The kitchen was a mess, and she blamed Emily for it. But Emily couldn't focus on her mother's anger. She was too shaken by what had happened. Had she imagined it all? Had her groggy mind played tricks on her? Or had she actually seen something, or someone, that wasn't her mother at all? To this day, she doesn't know the answer. Maybe it was just a hallucination, caused by exhaustion and past trauma. Maybe it was her mind's way of coping with guilt. Or maybe, just maybe, something far more terrifying had entered her home that day. Something wearing her mother's face. hit subscribe, and don't dare miss what's coming next. Or the next scream you hear might be your own.